What's up, Stephen King fans and horror fans alike? Danny and Athena from the Lassercast, and we are going to be talking about the season finale, the series finale of The Stand on CBS All Access. This episode was called The Circle Closes, and it was written by Stephen King himself, directed by Josh Boone, who brought the series back. So what did you think of this episode? We'll talk episode first, then we'll kind of give an overview of the whole series.
So, I just want to point out that last week's episode was actually considered to be the finale, and this week's episode was like the coda. So, like, the finale is like Vegas, New Vegas, and then the aftermath was considered the coda, and that's what it felt like in the book, and that's what it felt like in the '94 series. And that's what it feels like in this series.
I think it's kind of funny that the biggest kind of criticism that people have about Stephen King, to the point where they joke about it in the Andy Muschietti It movies, where Stephen King has a cameo. The thing that they criticize about Stephen King forever are his endings. So they brought Stephen King in to write the screenplay for the coda/final episode of this show, which is kind of ironic.
Sorry about our kids and cats. I think I read that Stephen King had like a crisis while he was writing The Stand, that he like wasn't sure how he wanted it to finish, like midway through, and this might have been his chance to to change that. Mm-hmm. And there were some fundamental changes, and there were some exact replicas of the ending of the book.
So we should just pause right here and tell you that obviously we are going to be talking spoilers in this episode. This is the final of 9 episodes of the series, coda finale. It's the last one. We're going to be spoiling it. And I'm going to give an extra special spoiler because I actually want to talk a little bit about Stephen King's other magnum opus, which you had brought up earlier in one of our other reviews, which is The Dark Tower, the epic 7-book, now 8-book series. I do want to mention a few things about that because there were some little nods to it. And I'm going to be mentioning some stuff about that is spoilers. Go read those 7 books. It's only 5,000 combined pages. You could do it. They're worth it.
Yeah. Stephen King readers, the constant readers, can read those books.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and don't let anybody shame you. Use Audible. Audible's great. I read everything on Audible now.
So I want to tell you that I liked the episode.
Okay.
And there were parts that I'm sad that weren't included. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I was sitting there like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Is it going to be different? Is it going to be the same? Which is how I've spent the entire series. Skipping. Now, while I wasn't a huge fan in the book of the Stu and Tom travelogue, they completely skipped that entirely, and what could have been something wonderful, because the guy who plays Tom was magnificent.
Yeah.
Just ended up as like a sad goodbye.
I always forget his middle name. It's Brad William Henke?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was one of our favorite parts of this series, and they completely shortchanged him in this finale. Now, like Athena said, the bomb goes off in the book, and you think, oh, well, that's it. I mean, the bomb went off. It feels like on Audible, it was another 2 hours, I think, of Tom finding Stu and then their journey back to Boulder. It starts to drag a little bit, but it also makes you you keep waiting. Are they even going to make it back? Is he going to get back to Frannie? Frannie's had her baby already. Is he going to get back to the baby? Is he going to, it's all these stories. And then
don't forget when Tom realizes that Nick is in his dreams talking because he's actually dead. That was a poignant moment, and Nick appearing as like a ghostly vision was important.
Yeah, they just cut right over that.
I thought that there was going to be more Nick, and there wasn't.
No. Episode 8 ends with Tom seeing Kojak, and the idea is that he follows Kojak back to Stu. This episode starts, we open with Frannie. She's had the baby, just like in the book. The baby gets Captain Trips, but because he's the child of somebody who is immune, it's like a mild strand. He overcomes it, and he becomes one of like the first new humans born post Captain Trips. And eventually, like, again, Athena said, we skip over the entire journey home, and then they go to like this candlelight vigil, and Stu just shows up with Tom. And then very quickly after that, they agree that they're going to make their journey back to Algonquin, which is what they do in the book. Mm-hmm. And Tom is just like, I'm going to miss you, come back. And they're like, yeah, we're going to miss you too. Nothing about, hey, thanks for, finding me in a ditch and literally dragging me back to life.
Tell Frannie that Tom saved his life.
It just blew right by. I do want to note, at the Boulder Free Zone in the celebration, there's a really cool cameo from Mick Garris, the director of the original 1994 miniseries. Obviously, you could tell he's very clear. He's got very long white hair. He's directed the Stephen King remake of The Shining, which we reviewed on this channel. He's also directed Sleepwalkers, based on a Stephen King story. So he's trained with Stephen King. He's attached to Stephen King, and he has a nice little cameo there.
So one exciting moment, aha moment, where Danny and I looked at each other was when the music from The Stranger, the whistling from The Stranger started, and I was like, oh my gosh, I knew it. Flagg's alive. And it doesn't really show much. It shows like the ashes of Vegas, but then it shows Flagg's pin go from like cross-eyed dead pin to happy face pin. And we're like,
I thought that we both kind of looked at each other, and I guess I thought it was kind of setting up something a little bit bigger, but it's just that like flash, and then we kind of go into the opening credits and the first commercial break. She liked the episode. I kind of felt about this episode the way I felt about the entire series, and that was, I liked some things. I liked an individual scene here and there.
Some of the characters.
But overall, I was kind of, especially in this episode, I was bored. And I was just kind of like, blah. And it just, I kind of feel that this was just another episode in a kind of disappointing series. Especially given the source material. But there were parts that I liked. Specifically, we'll get to them at the end. But so they leave Boulder, and they're driving across country now, and they stop at Nebraska.
And then we were like, they're in Nebraska.
And I'm like, I wonder. There's a farmhouse, and and we see that there's something that looks like it's an evil force haunting them, or just something watching them. And we see that it's a young black girl. And
there's a vast cornfield right in front of the house.
And my first thought was, and I said this to you, was maybe they're doing Mother Abigail being reborn. We know that Flagg is still alive, and that he's kind of like reborn, the smiley face on the pin. Maybe this is Mother Abigail being reborn. And that took me to, and again, major spoilers for The Dark Tower, but the final ending of The Dark Tower is that the story starts again. And that's actually, I just reread the last 5 pages of Stephen King's The Stand, the uncut 1,150-page version, and the last 2 lines are essentially, you just have to choose your side and stand by it, because the story is going to start again. And that's a very, that's a Stephen King motif, is that you get to the end and the cycle just continues.
Ka is a wheel.
Yes, that's and what's her name? Frannie even says that at the end of this episode about how, everything is a wheel and they have to keep going. And They're revving the motorcycles outside. I think Trash Can Man just drove by. But yeah, the Nebraska scene leads to Frannie falling down a well, which, again, we started thinking of other Stephen King stories that involve wells. Yeah, like whether it was 1922. What was the other one you said? It was...
I wanted to say Dolores Claiborne, but I don't remember if I'm...
I think there was something about a well in that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that took us to... Oh, there was also another little Easter egg, Stephen King Easter egg, where they get to this farmhouse and you kind of see the camera goes inside the house. And, of course, what's the one thing it focuses on? A turtle. And if you're a Stephen King constant reader, you'll know what that means. I won't say any more about it, but there was a turtle. So she falls down the well, and she is fucked.
Like her leg is twisted.
Yeah. You could tell.
She's in bad shape.
She's coughing. She's unconscious, but she's got blood coming out of her mouth. Her chest, her shirt is like lined with blood, so there's probably internal bleeding there. And she starts to have visions of, you guessed it, Flagg and Mother Abigail. So
she runs to Flagg first. She runs into Flagg first. And this is Flagg as we love him. All like funny and scary and handsome and compelling. And she was tempted. And he was like, kiss me. And I would have kissed him. So I don't know. But she like went to kiss him and she bit his lip and ran away. And said, I'm not going to the dark side or something like that. Maybe I just made that up. But that was in essence what she said. And then she ran away and ended up in the cornfield.
Yeah.
And she heard the guitar.
Yeah, and this was one of those scenes that I really liked. Because one of the things that we both said that was really jarring was we meet Mother Abigail...
And at an old age home.
At an old age home. But even before that, when they're having visions of her in the cornfield, she's like, meet me in Colorado. And we're like, no, you're supposed to meet her in Nebraska. And she's supposed to be on a porch playing the guitar. And then you go to Colorado. And they kind of just bypassed that at the beginning. But then they came back and visited it here. And it made it, again, it kind of felt like, okay, we're back to where we should be with Mother Abigail on a porch.
That was her real home, and then when she got too old, they moved her to an old age home.
Yeah, no, it totally gave off that vibe of like like as soon as you saw that little black girl in the cornfield, my first thought was, oh, okay, this is Stephen King, he's doing this is Mother Abigail as a child, and then eventually when Stu gets back home, he is able to use the winch from the truck to get Frannie out of the well with help from this little girl who uses magic to basically cure Frannie of all of her broken bones. And
she calls him Stuart, which is the first, like, knowledge that this girl is Mother Abigail.
Yeah.
And she immediately disappears once Frannie's rescued.
Yeah. I think part of it, we might be making it sound very exciting. This episode. Oh, she fell down a well. She's having visions.
Exciting. I loved it.
I think my problem is, and this goes back to something we've said countless times, is this show, I don't know who this show was for, in the sense that they didn't develop these characters. Shari said this in our last review. She's the only one of the four of us, between you, me, Pete, and her, who had not read the book. She saw the 94 miniseries, but she saw it in 1994, and based on this miniseries, she said she's not really interested in reading the book to find out more about these characters. We know about these characters from reading the book, and so and it just felt like the two most boring characters, probably in the book, and in this series especially, are the ones that we focused the final episode on. So even when Flagg popped up, and Alexander Skarsgård was good in this episode, and even when Mother Abigail was there, and Whoopi Goldberg was good in this episode, it was just like, oh, it's Stu and Frannie. Not Larry, not Glenn, not Tom,
Not Harold.
Not Harold, who was, the best part of the show for us, or any of the conflicted characters or like the really interesting characters. It was the two really good guys who never have never even pause to turn to the dark side, And it just felt like I was just like, I can't believe they chose to focus on these two boring characters at the end.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what happened at the end, was that they went back. Although they didn't focus on, the book didn't.
I'm telling you, I just reread the last 5 pages. They're in Boulder up until like page 1145. And then they're like, and then Frannie goes like, Stu, I think I want to go back home to Algonquin. I want to see what else is out there. And he's like, all right, pack the truck. And that's it. It's like half a page. It's like a page and a half out of 1,150 pages. And they made it into a 50-plus minute episode. And yeah, it didn't work for me because those are the two least exciting characters in the whole thing for me.
You want to talk about the very end?
Okay, so again, we've spoiled everything. This is dead on from the book. Like, I just reread it. Is perfect. And when it happened, I even said to you, I was like, oh my God, this is how the book ends. And I got really excited. So do you want to talk about it?
So Flagg arrives naked.
Of course, because Alexander Skarsgård has the bare-ass clause in his contract.
Yes.
Must show it at least 4 times per season of any show.
To a tribe that had not been affected by Captain Trips because they kept to themselves.
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt you, but important to understand, in Frannie's vision, he showed her this tribe and was like, see, Captain Trips didn't affect them. And so, like, you've seen these people before, and then all of a sudden he washes up on this beach. So
he washes up, bare ass. And I guess the head of the tribe is holds an arrow to him. He just and explodes him. And then everybody else falls to their knees. And he rises up and is like, worship me.
And he announces his name, not as Randall Flagg, but as Russell Faraday, which is, again, straight out of the book. But it's also very commonly known in all of Stephen King lore. Flagg is an overarching villain of Stephen King lore. First Stephen King book I ever read was The Eyes of the Dragon. The bad guy in that is a wizard named Randall Flagg. Randall Flagg is the man in black in the Dark Tower series. Just like Flagg in The Stand, he goes by many names. And Russell Faraday is one of them. The RF, of course. And it's just so cool to see that. Because again, in the book, he washes up on the shores of a tribe and he's talking to himself and he's like, where am I? Oh, who cares where I am? And he's laughingly speaking all the languages he knows to them. And when they don't understand, he just yells out, I am Russell Faraday, and they all bow before him. And it's just the book does such a good job, and Pete's brought this up, of showing the fear and the reactions, the horrible reactions that just all living things have to him. So in the book, he washes up on the beach and a bird sees him and turns to fly away and flies headfirst into a tree and dies. And then another animal sees him and just has a heart attack. This is an animal. And you don't really get that in this series. You got that a little bit at the end with this tribe where they approach him and for not 1 second do they think this is a benevolent character. And the chief shoots an arrow at him and he just catches it and then with his fingers blows his head off. So I did like that last little bit of the series. It kind of brought everything around. The circle, the name of the episode, The Circle Closes. Well, the circle closed, and then it kind of, caused a wheel. We're going back around again. So if you were going to give the series, all 9 episodes, a star rating out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
3.5.
You're so generous. I love you, but you're really generous.
I love everything Stephen King, even things that aren't perfect.
I'm
just happy that people keep making stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and I really did like a lot of stuff. I'll tell you, I completely disappointed in the non-development of Nick. I needed more Tom Cullen. I wished Lloyd was different for most of the series. I think the first episode he was in and the last episode he was in, I kind of liked him better than in between.
Yeah.
Ray Brentner did a lot of nothing until her last episode, and then I kind of felt for her. Larry was great the whole time.
Towards the end.
I loved Larry the whole time. The whole time I loved him.
I think I would give it... I'd give it between 2 and 2.5 stars. And, like, I feel like I genuinely really liked 2 episodes. I think it was, like, the pilot I really liked. And then I think it was, like, episode 3 or 4 I remember really liking. But, yeah, for too much of this show, I just genuinely... I can tell, and I listen to the KingCast podcast a lot, and they've had the writers and the showrunners on. I know that the people involved in this show took this totally seriously. I know that they tried their damn best to make a faithful and good adaptation. And what I got out of most of this series is that I don't think it can be done. I don't think because I think this is one of those things where the people like us who've read the book are going to want things to go super slow, go into all the backstory, and you'll need to commit to like a multi-season, 3 seasons on Netflix kind of thing, or CBS All Access. But then I don't think that makes for compelling television for the people who would just tune in because they hear it's Stephen King's blank. There are tons of horror fans that will tune in to anything with Stephen King's name on it without ever reading the source material. And you have to, of course, make it accessible to those people. I think this did a decent job of just trying to make like a show that moved for those people. But I don't know. It's too big and too comprehensive of a book. I just don't... If this series couldn't do it, I think the 94 miniseries did it better. I would recommend people just watching that again. It's, if you can get past the mid-90s TV budget special effects, it's pretty damn good. And I think it's better than this version, sadly.
We must mention Owen Teague, the star of the series.
Yeah, he was the best part of the series by far.
And I also, obviously, most of the time I liked Randall Flagg. He was just a little too handsome for me to be scared of him. Yeah. And Ezra Miller was wasted.
Oh, totally wasted. My thoughts. I said it last episode. I think they should have completely cut Trash Can Man from the series. I don't think he brought anything to the series except for derision. I think people might look at that and either get offended by it or laugh at it when it shouldn't be laughed at. I think they should have cut the Trash Can Man character if that's what they were going to do with it. But,
I think they should have developed the Trash Can Man.
Well, again, they should have, but they didn't. Better. And so what we were left with was like a total of 7 minutes of screen time of a guy screaming in a thong, and it didn't work for me or most other people.
This makes me nervous for the remake of The Talisman. They're really going to need...
There is no remake. They've never done The Talisman.
No, I think they're going to do it.
Oh, no. Oh, I
think they're going to do it.
I thought you meant they were remaking another Talisman series.
I think they're going to make one. And, it's really going to depend on getting a good teenage boy named Jack who everyone finds beautiful.
If only there was a director out there who handled Stephen King work in a near flawless fashion. If only there was a YouTube channel named for his work. Oh, Mike Flanagan. He could probably do a great adaptation of that. He's already adapted Stephen King work several times, and it's been fantastic, whether it was Gerald's Game for Netflix or, of course, Dr. Sleep last year, or 2019, which is still probably my favorite King adaptation overall. But yeah, that was The Stand on CBS All Access. She gave it the high water mark of 3.5. I gave it about a 2 to 2.5. I think you can skip it. Go back and watch the 94 miniseries. As far as the Lasser cast goes, we have our Love and Horror video up there now. Charlotte and I, our daughter, have a video ranking the Nancy Thompson trilogy in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. We're going to have some special Valentine's Day stuff for you guys coming up. Joe Bob's Last Drive-In is this Friday, so stay tuned for some reviews about that. And we will see you very soon. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.